Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast. This week presented by me, where I can talk and not stutter and introduce my colleagues like last week. I'm joined as ever by Ian Story and David Warburton, my two favourite estate agents in the world. How are you doing, lads?
What an intro. Cheers, mate. Yeah, all good. Thank you very much.
Better than last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. Basically, if you've not listened to last week's podcast, basically, Ian did the intro last week and it was disgusting. Not the word.
Far from the incredible that we're used to.
Sorry, no, I'm selling loads of nice higher-end houses on 2%. I really apologise for the poor intro.
Do you know what, mate? I hope you're okay. Because it must be really tough. Then barns don't sell themselves. Anyway, we're here to talk estate agency and how our relative weeks have been. Ian, you had to wait a good 15 minutes last week, mate, before you could tell us how your week was. I've introed this week, so I've got at least another 14 and a half minutes before I can speak. So tell us how your week's been, mate.
Extremely good is the headline. So we started the week off Monday, like we do every week. We start every week on a Monday. I'm not sure about
no way.
But I find I work Monday to Sunday every week, 7 days.
Okay.
And we had offers on 4 properties Monday morning from viewings we'd done over the weekend.
Bosh.
And we've sold them all above marketing price.
Brilliant,
so
mate.
we have one at 1.25, we sold for 1.3. We have one at 600, we sold for 650. We have one at 875 that's been on and off for ages that we sold at 885, and 3 cash offers on one at over 750, plus 2 offers on a plot we're selling at offers over 375. So really good week on sales going to the pipeline. We've launched 5 absolute beauties this week. And then we're doing new shoots all the time and valuations. We did 2 excellent valuations off the back of our not on the market letters yesterday. 2 really good ones. One that I think will go market ready, and one that I've already got to go and do some outdoor photographs because her wisteria is out at the moment. So those normal letters are really proving well for us.
Just on that, Ian, dead quickly before you move on. That is great attention to detail, though. But it's the right time to be taking the photos. So I just think that's
100%.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I suppose my point is we're skipping ahead maybe a little bit, but you just take... It's got to be right, and I like that. Anyway, carry on.
And of course, May, June, I mean, the weather today is biblically horrendous. But
yes, I've cancelled a take-on today. I had one of my big take-ons. 2 of my most expensive take-ons that I've got have both now pushed back into June because of weather.
Yeah, we've got 2 big ones today as well. We always go and do the inside because of how much time they spend making it right on the styling. So we always go and do the inside. But nevertheless, I say always, not if it's really, really bad. But no, May and June are definitely the best months. So if you go into valuations where they're not coming on now, especially off the back of direct mail, where it's a bit of a slower burn, this lady with the wisteria has been getting our letters for 2 years and has called us to say, please come and see me. Went and saw them. They're probably not selling until next March, although we all know what it's like. We'll get in there, we'll do some marketing, we'll create all the marketing, and suddenly you find that people decide to sell sooner as soon as you start to move them along. Yeah, the sort of the process. So yeah, I saw the wisteria as I went in the front door, made a point of talking about it when we did the sit down at the end, and said I really think we want to try and capture the wisteria. She was a very keen gardener. The rhododendrons are out, all these sorts of things. So I played on that. And then what we'll do is we'll create the marketing. We'll send it all to her so she can share her friends and family. And obviously she's then a client for the future.
Nice.
We had one potential faller this week where there is spray foam insulation in the loft.
Oh, no.
So I had this on my house that I bought last year, and the guy I bought it off had to have taken out before my lender would lend on it. And the same happened with this one. What we didn't realise until this week was that the vendor is in quite serious financial problems. So he hasn't got the money to pay for the foam to be taken out. So Michelle has managed to save it basically by getting the buyer to agree to no renegotiation, and they're having it taken out. So obviously they're really, really keen on the house. And Michelle has also worked out that the seller will only have $8,000 left at the end of the transaction. So he won't have enough money to pay our fee. Okay. And obviously his mortgage lender will be first charge, of course, not us. So what we've agreed with him is that you pay us what you can, and then we'll agree a payment plan after that.
Jeez.
What I don't want to do is lose the sale, because £8,000 is £8,000. You know, it's still a good fee. That's about, by the way, so it's like 6.5. But I would prefer to get the sale to go through, complete, bank it, because this property is pretty much on the M56. So, you know, you don't want to lose a sale like that. Get it through, and then we'll agree a payment plan for the rest of it. So that was nearly four, but we managed to keep it on. Yes. So that was a good week, all in all. And in 2 weeks, it's our first mastermind, lads, isn't it? With our members in Birmingham. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, good. Very, very, very busy week for myself. Loads of valuations, and I'm now moving into take-on territory. Everybody seems to want to come to the market at the same time, and I've got, so like, over the next few weeks, my social's got to go mad. It's actually been quite quiet in the sense of I've not listed loads in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be absolutely crazy, which will make up for all that. There's been a lot of nurture going on over the last few months. And like I say, there's been a load of valuations that I've been to. I've been to some absolute corkers as well in this last few weeks on the back of NOM letters, which I will come on to very shortly, because I just wanted to share some of the results on that. But particularly as well, getting into new areas. I've actually been to I've got 4 valuations in a brand new area. Combined value of the homes is between 8 and 10 million. I went to 2 this last week. One has instructed me. It's £1 million, the house.
And not on the market letter.
That's a not on the market letter.
Amazing.
And then,
lovely.
Yeah, it can only be because I've sent these noms to a brand new area not too far from me. They've had, so what the interesting thing was, I think I mentioned it on the pod last week. They had the Q4 letter end of last year, which obviously, as we know, reviewed 2023. I didn't get a single response from that. Now, I think a lot of people would have just stopped at that point. You don't get a single response after sending sort of 800 or 900 letters, which it was to this particular area. I've done it again, Q1, and this time got 4 responses. But the combined value of the houses is between 8 and 10 million, and all 4 houses are being sold. They're not time wasters. So I got instructed on the very first one I went to last week, the £1 million house. And it's a great house. Looking forward to that upfront marketing fee. And then I went to one yesterday. That's around 2.5 million. Very good valuation. So not been instructed on that yet. I've got a follow up. Did the follow up, but I've got a follow up today and see what their thoughts are. And then on Friday, I'm going to 2 more in the same area. One's about 2 million. One's going to be worth 1.5, 1.8, something like that. If it's what I think they are. So great vals in those areas, and I've been instructed on a few that I'm really pleased about. So overall, lads, a great week. JK, I'll let you do your rundown, and then I'll just come back to not on the market letters, because I'm sure.
I was just going to say quickly, mate, I really recognise you from somewhere. I can't think where it is.
Oh, right, yes. I did make an appearance on Good Morning Britain this week as well.
Did you? Do you know? I don't. Do you know? I knew I'd seen you somewhere. You had not mentioned it, have you?
I tried actually not to. You wanted to share it, but I did put it out there yesterday.
Listen, mate, I'll always support you. We'll always big you up.
No, that was very nice. That was a nice thing to do. I was on the. I had a conversation for about 15 minutes, just talking about the property market on the phone. This was asking about the property market, what figures are doing, what my opinion is on how things will happen. Then the next thing was, do you want to go? Can you go live on Good Morning Britain tomorrow morning? I was like, what? So I just the timings just didn't work, and I'm kind of glad they didn't, because when I found out that it was Susanna Reid and Martin Lewis that would have been questioning me, I thought, Jesus, especially with Martin Lewis, because he's like the don with all of this stuff, isn't he? So I can imagine him, if he called me out on some of my stats or something, I'd just be like, I'm not too sure about that, Martin.
To be fair, no one's going to call you out in the stats, though, mate. You are the data.
I don't think so. I'm usually pretty accurate. But, so I did a pre-record, which was shared across on Good Morning Britain yesterday, which was really nice. Like I say, it was about a 10-minute interview, and they used me for about 20 or 30 seconds. But still, it was a lovely experience. So
Nick from Gavin and Stacey vibes.
I did, I said that, yeah. If you watch Gavin and Stacey, that episode where Mick is on the news and all the family come round, they get it all set up, they wait all day for it, and he's on for about 5 seconds.
Yeah,
that
it's not what
kind
you
of
expected when you come into work.
yeah.
Anyway,
I said on my Facebook post, genuinely, when we were watching, I came on, and Eddie, my son, he's 3 years old, and whenever we have like a bit of a film night or something like that, he's in the mindset, I want to go and get some popcorn. So he saw me on the TV. He went, "It's Daddy on the TV," and he said, "I'm going to go and get my popcorn." So he ran to the kitchen to get his popcorn, and by the time he'd come back, I'd finished. So that's how long it was.
Good. Story of your life. Right. Anyway, my week. So I've got a couple of, I suppose, onto less positive and then onto positive. So we've got some real struggles with getting some stuff in the pipeline through at the moment, with unrealistic people in the chain and mortgage offers and stuff just taking an absolute age to get through. But we're working through it. You know, we've saved some deals that we thought were going to fall, just through great work from Sandra, really, speaking to people and making them see the bigger picture. But I mean, our pipeline is as big as it's ever been, to be honest, which is great. And I think that's testament to what we've kind of been putting in at the front end. So that's, I suppose, the less positive. But on the positive front, you know, sales this month have just been like incredible again. Another really good week. We've got another 5 to launch. 3 of those 5, one is 1.1, the other one's 3. I feel like every episode of this podcast I talk about the big £3 million that I've got, and it just keeps getting pushed back for one reason. This time it was an operation. The another big £2 million I've got pushed back just because of weather. I was supposed to be there this afternoon, and the weather's just awful. And it's the kind of house, so as you look through the kitchen, it's got amazing views like over Bedfordshire countryside, like incredible views over the countryside. And you need to do, so I can resist, you have to do like the shot I can see inside goes inside to outside, like with the drone. And I just feel like if we'd done the internals today, we would have rushed it, if that makes sense. And I've already pushed them back already because they were all set to sign with another agent. And this is the other agent that said, "Oh, don't worry, mate. Take your photographs for Twilight on your iPhone and I'll stick it online." Brilliant.
Well, JK, I was just going to say, actually, you made a good point there, because I think they will appreciate what you're doing. You know, I've got a few of those. We've cancelled one today as well. That's like a £1.4 million house, but the house itself is huge. It's like 5,000 square feet, but it's not spectacular. It needs quite a bit of work and modernisation inside. It's probably a bit more of a project for someone. But the ground's just under an acre. What's the point in going filming a soggy garden when it's like this? You know, it's terrible. You need to get it right. And I think
it's kind of, because it's got, I mean, this house has got a pool. It's got a pool. It's got a hot tub, outdoor. I mean, the outdoor like seating area is phenomenal. Like, again, just over an acre. Sounds quite similar to what I mean, the views are spectacular. And it's got real curb appeal, this house. These guys have gone to the length of, so bearing in mind the other agent was prepared to take photos as is. I've literally gone through every room. We had this conversation with our members the other day about staging and styling. And we all do vary in different levels. I would, arguably say that you two are much better than I am in terms of staging and styling, in terms of the levels that you go to with props, etc. But, as you said, Ian, as you were advising some of the members this week, like, start off with just you. And that's what I've been doing for some time, is going into each room and going, right, you need to do this, you need to do that. That needs to come out. We'll move this sofa around so we can show the room off more. Getting things, the basic things in like dressing room, sorting their dressing room out. If they want us to take a photo of it, which is a selling point in this house, organise your dressing room. Like, I've literally gone to the nth degree on it. But I said, at the end of the day, this is a £2.2 million house. We need to sell the lifestyle. We're not just taking photos of a 3-bed semi and sticking it on Rightmove. We need to make sure that we absolutely nail it. And as you said, sorry, mate, I was just going to say, as you said, like, people will appreciate that.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree about going back to get the externals on a property on every property, really. We did a lovely little cottage the other day with Mark, our video man, And we did manage to get the outside, but it had a tiny little courtyard, lovely property, but a tiny little courtyard garden. And it was like a bit drizzly. And I think it'll come out really lovely, but certainly on the bigger ones where you need the drone up and you need to go back. But because we go to such lengths with the client internally to get them to style it all for the day, generally speaking, we always go, whatever the weather, we always go, because we always do the inside and then we go back and do the outside. Now, some days it's horrendous and you just, if it's really, really bad, you can't do the inside. But I think on most days you can do the inside, whatever happens. And because the client's gone to so much length to get it ready inside, if you don't go on the day, I think you can risk pissing them off a bit. So we tend to go twice. Some properties, if they've got like loads of glass, then it's different, isn't it? Because you can see the rain on the outside and stuff. But it depends on the house,
This house is a bit like that, to be fair. There's a couple of things as well that really made me, you're absolutely right. You can go and do it, but there's things like one of the patio doors, the glazing was supposed to be replaced, and the guys pushed back till next week, where one of the kids had hit, they were playing football, and a stone had randomly come off their foot and booted through the glass. There was a massive smash on one of the glass on the patio doors. And there was just a couple of other little things that, like there was a tile missing in the ensuite that I told them to replace that was cracked.
Yeah, that's
quite a prominent tile. That wasn't ready. So I just said, look, the weather, if it was super sunny today, we could have worked around it. But I said, let's just get it perfect and let's just do it in June. And they were appreciative of that. They appreciate that I want to do the job properly. Just talking about doing the job properly. Richard, I don't know if you probably saw I think you did, you commented on it, Dave, the video Rich did of a place called Park Farm. Now that was on with an established agent that throughout the country deal with, we should say, mid to high end homes. And in 14 weeks, they had 2 viewings. That's the house I put in the group that said tree for sale. And in a week, we've booked 4 viewings with our marketing. Same price, just better marketing.
Amazing.
And we're going to talk about that today on today's pod in terms of, on sending on the market letters and how you can improve the marketing and get almost get a hold of other agent, stock that's out there, pick the low hanging fruit, but only if you can actually add value to these clients and get them moved. So just before we move on to that, Dave, did you want to say something else? Because
I wanted to share some figures really for the not on the market letters, because I was doing some analysis last night. We're just putting a few processes in place and stuff like that in relation to...
Before you carry on, mate, this is important stuff you're going to tell us, but I just wanted to clarify what the not on the market letter is. So the 3 of us write a quarterly update, which we send out in handwritten envelopes to thousands of houses across our area. So I send it to about 5,500. I know you 2 send it to more, Dave. I think you're 7.5, James, you're 10. But we send it consistently every single quarter to all those houses across our area, and every envelope is handwritten. So that's what we do. And then as part of our membership of the Complete Agent, we then let other agents on a postcode exclusivity basis have the same letter, don't we? So that's what we do. And you're about...
That's part of it, yeah.
That's part of it, yeah. And what you're about to do, Dave, is tell us your results from that, yeah?
Yes. So this is just from Q4, so end of last year. So the Q4 letter is actually my favourite because it lands at a time when you know exactly what's happened throughout the year. And obviously, you can make projections for the following year. But I always feel that if you're not doing any form of marketing campaign around that time, December, January, you're missing a trick, because the majority of people are at home in December. A lot of people switch off in December because it is a quieter month and it is a time to maybe recoup and get your energy back, because we know we're all busy in estate agency land. But I also think it can be a big mistake when people do that, because there's a huge opportunity. There's a new year, new start mentality for most people. And obviously that's what we're looking to capitalize on. So this is from my Q4 letter that went out, which reviewed all of 2023, and subsequent Q1 letter, which reviewed quarter one in January, February, March this year. So the results that I've had, I always say on this, if you looked at the units, you'd think it was a waste of money. because as you've just said, Ian, I send just under 7,500 out each quarter. So let's just round it up. 15,000 letters that have been sent out during that period. Of those 15,000, I've had 46 valuations that are definitely directly related to the not on the market letter. That's people saying, I have received your letter with interest. Please, can you come and value my home? Now, that doesn't include people who have simply sent me an email saying thanks for the letter, or dropped me a text message directly because my mobile number's already on there. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people that reach out and do that, who actually just ring up and say thanks for sending it, which is really nice. It also doesn't include the odd Karen who sends it back with a lot of scribbled writing on it saying, what a waste of paper. But we're all right with that. So 46 valuations. So far, of those 46 valuations, 11 have come to the market.
Ouch.
So
with you mean?
Yes, 11 have come to the market with me, okay?
What's your average fee on those?
The average fee on that is, for me, £11,420.
So times 11, yeah?
Yeah, and so the total fees that has generated for me so far is £125,625. Okay. 15 of them, so that's 11 instructions from that. 15 of them are hot, as in they are definitely going to sell. 100% going to sell. It's just whether they choose me. Mm-hmm. And I've done the analysis last night, and I am super confident on 80% of them. Really super confident. A couple of them are, God, your fee's high. You're always going to get that. But let's just say, if all 15 came on, that's another 176 grand into my instruction pot. If I don't get, let's say I don't get 5 of those, it's still going to be about 120,000 pounds more for the fees, and they are imminent. So we're not talking further down the line. They are imminent. They'll be on soon. They're coming to the market soon. And then of all that, I've lost 3. So 3 of them didn't come on the market with me. All 3 are still on the market at prices that I wouldn't have listed them at, and at fees that I didn't want. But I'm still nurturing them. And if they don't go on to sell with their current agent, I'm ready to pounce, and I will get them at my fee, because they'll have been disappointed by the low fee and the high valuation that were given. And I might get those in the future. So it's just, I'm quite passionate.
What's spend, Dave? So how many letters is that? What was that? 15,000 letters, you say?
Yeah.
And what average per letter? What, £1.50?
Not even that, mate. I mean, obviously the cost of a stamp has just gone up, so I think it's about £1 now. Yeah, so it's about £1.20 all in, I think, with the. Bear in mind, to be fair, I have all my letter writing in house, so that's something that I do need to make clear. So if you're outsourcing that, then obviously that would be a little bit more expensive, but for the return, it doesn't. It doesn't even touch the sides, does it?
That's really important.
And then.
Go on.
Sorry, just the last thing as well. So buyer letters. The last campaign I did, I shared the sort of numbers and the responses that I'd had. But again, I just thought I'd look into the detail a bit further. So of the 99 letters that I sent, buyer letters that I sent, my bespoke buyer letter, that produced £12.15 million worth of valuations, with potential fees of £182,000.
So what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say direct mail is good or bad? I'm not getting the message.
It's terrible. Don't do it.
Can you just say as well, though, Dave, on that letter, that's something we also gave out to our paying members as well, didn't we?
Yes. And then so the buyer letter that I sent, the bespoke buyer letter, £12.15 million worth of valuations, potential 182 grand in fees. Of those, so far, 1 is definitely going to go on the market, and that is an £18,000 fee. Now, the others on that, obviously, when you send buyer letters, there's a lot of intrigue. So I have got one for that particular couple that I'm trying to find a house for. I've got one on the hook. They want, it's worth about 1.5, and they've said, well, if you could sell it for 1.7, we would definitely move. So it's one of those at the moment. They might buy that, and if they don't, it's probably one for nurture in the future. But all great guys, all great people I've spoken to, they've contacted me and said, we're not 100% sure. We're looking for hours. It's that usual thing at this end of the market where a lot of the time you've got to build chains. There was a stat I think that Gatesy gave out the other week, which is houses above £1 million, 30% of them never see the light of day on Rightmove. So 30% of transactions happen off market, and this is how you make it happen. So these will all be nurtured. I've not even seen them all, but I will be doing. And one of them actually was a Grand Designs home, which is a fantastic house. So yeah, again, it's just another passionate advert for me, really, for direct mail, because it has been transformative for me. So there you go, lads. I thought I'd share that with you.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing.
The two key things there on the sort of not on the market update letters is, the first one is that it's different to what they're getting from anyone else. So if they're getting, well, we all know people are getting things from their agents, but generally they're only getting stuff if they're on the market, first of all, and they're all getting the same kind of letter or the same kind of flyer. If they're not on the market, they're probably getting nothing. But if they are getting something, it won't be a handwritten envelope consistently every quarter with a 4, 5, 6 page letter. So it's different to other agents. The fact there's 3 things. You created a nurture journey for the future. So the lady I went to see yesterday, who's Wisteria, we're going to photograph, has been getting our letters for 2 years and got the latest one and said, "You've just timed it right, Ian. We were just literally chatting and we think now's the right time to start having a conversation." So it's been a nurture. And that's the first thing. That's the second thing. And then I think the third thing is that you are positioning yourself as a voice of authority in the local area. So because you're presenting it in a professional, long-form way, I go to so many houses where there's a copy of the Times or the Telegraph, and they're not happy that Labour are about to get in power in July. They're that kind of client. They absolutely love it. They absolutely love what you're doing. And although you might not know it straight away, by doing it every quarter, you are definitely becoming that person's agent long-term. You don't know it until they call you, do you? But keep sending them consistently, because people definitely read them. You'll always get the ones that tell you to take them off the mailing list. You forget about them.
£1.20 saved. See you later.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
And the thing is as well, it's you can't just send them and expect results. As we've said many a times, you've got to be consistent with it, but you've got to look right. You've got to make sure, as we've said right at the start of this the podcast series we did, the mini series, you've got to make sure that you are branded up the right way and that you look like what you want to attract. So that's an important part of it. You've got to be clear on that, because I've heard people say before that they've tried it and don't get results. And I think you could write the best letter in the world. People, generally speaking, apart from one actually, which I'll tell you about in a sec, yesterday, generally speaking, they will read the letter, they will then check you out on social media, and they will check you out on your website. If they go on your website and your website looks like a lower end brand, or you look like you don't post regularly on social media, things like that, they're less likely to engage with you. They might take the information on the letter, for example, and ring someone else. And I can speak from experience, because with my lower end brand, there was definitely a mental block with me with my residential brand trying to get into the higher end market. I didn't feel that particular brand was superior enough in the eyes of the owner, to break into that higher end market. So hence why the new brand was formed. But I think that's a really important thing to consider. You can't just expect it and get results overnight. But if you look right, you actually can, I can prove it if people want to.
You do get more instant results when you've been sending them for longer, though. You do. That might sound obvious, but you definitely get more instant results when you've been sending them for longer. It builds, doesn't it, over time? I remember
it's no like and trust, isn't it? As well, it's those things where people get you come through the door like 3 years ago when you started sending it, like 18 months for me. Come through the door and they're like, "Who the bloody hell is James Kendall?" And then they get on next quarter and it's like, "Oh, it's that James Kendall again." Oh, that's pretty good last time. Oh, the end of the year one, oh, that's pretty good. That was interesting.
And also as well, JK, that'll get you through the door, and then it's up to you. Then you've really got to. So you can't just. It's it's not just one step. The lead generation is there. That'll get you noticed.
There's no silver bullet.
Yeah, you've got to look right. You've then got to show that you're doing everything consistently well. And then when you get through the door, you've got to know what you're talking about. And offer context. So for the one that I was just referring to just then, it was a £2.5 million house yesterday. Really, really lovely couple. They'd received my letter, read it thoroughly, and then he's a biochemist. He's into all sorts of stuff. Very successful guy, and he's recently sold a company worth a lot of money, but very, very clever. And he was questioning everything in the letter, which it excited me because I'm weird like that. I like stats and stuff, so it was nice to be able to sort of bounce off each other in relation to that. And he liked that I knew the answers and I could give him context and also give an opinion. But that was a rare occasion where they actually hadn't looked at the website, which I thought was a bit strange. So when I did when I actually did the pitch on how we do things and all that, it was fresh to them. So that was quite interesting, but that's very rare. Very rare. Normally, they will have they'll know all about you. Potentially,
the one I went to last night, where we've got a photograph of the wisteria. When I got there, she was laughing and she said, "Oh, I've been watching all your videos all day since I got the letter. I've been watching all your videos." And we walked into the lounge and she put a bottle of whiskey with two glasses on a side table next to the chair, and she laughed and she went, "I've been watching your video on what you do with the staging, and I thought that would look really good in that corner." That is absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah, that is good. That is good, and it's the whole process.
So the whole thing with home styling, it creates the right feeling in the property, and for the higher end unique homes, it's important. But guys, it's also massively about you and marketing you and your company, and you want the likes of these lovely people to talk to their friends and say, "Do you know they put the whiskey bottle?" That's what you want. It's not just about selling the property; it's about selling your company as well.
Yeah, and again, I know you guys regularly take the mickey out of me for saying it, but when you say you're selling you're not selling your home, you're selling your buyer's next home, it hits. It's like that, and they just get it. They just get it. There's no point trying to sell like them two yesterday. It is a 4,500 square foot detached property in half an acre, and there's two of them living there. So they use about 3 of the rooms in the house, and I'm saying to them, we need to sort these rooms out that you're not using, because it's going to be a busy family like you were 20 years ago that's going to buy this house. So why would we present it with that room full of crap and that room there that you're just using for storage? And, why would we have a TV room here that's not got a TV in it? Let's seriously think about how somebody's going to use this house and go to town on it. And the other thing you've got to remember is when you go into a £250,000 house or a £300,000 house, we still do it on our Resi brand, by the way. We still do the home staging elements. Because I genuinely believe that it doesn't matter if you're selling a 2-bed terrace or a 5-bed barn conversion, the goal is the same for the owner. We've still got to maximize their biggest tax-free asset. So we want to do all these great things. But at that end of the market, there's probably less of a budget to do it. So you've got to be a bit creative. A lot of the time it is mainly about declutter, depersonalization, just adding a few little touches. But at the top end of the market, there's a budget. So one of my biggest successes with on-market properties is when they are empty. So I've built some great relationships with developers over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, where they've seen what we do. I've been invited out to have a chat with them. They've got empty properties, and they're saying, "What can you do to help me sell these?" And I've said to them, the houses are soulless. They're empty. The approach that the current agent has been taking is lazy. They've clearly, because it's empty, just taken photos either on the phone or on their own camera. They've taken them themselves. They've drawn their own floor plan. There's no video. They just stick it out there. When I've gone in, I've said, you need to invest in a furniture pack. I'm partnered up with a staging team. We obviously do all the soft furnishings, the home styling, but I can fully stage this house for you, fully stage it, and it won't be as much as you think it might be. But it's well worth the investment, and they love it. I've got a house launching probably today. It's been fully staged, and he's not even a big time developer. He's done it himself. I went to see him. He's had 4 valuations out, and I've said, you need to stage the house, and he's invested in a furniture pack. So the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that people will do it. They will listen to you if you know what you're talking about, if you're the authority. And it's just having these little extras, adding these little extras to your game that'll take you further.
So let's just drill down. And so there's a couple of things we need to talk about this week. First, we're going to talk about on the market letters and on the market properties and how you can get into those, make a difference, and how they are effectively low hanging fruit for you if you're an agent that wants more stock. And, obviously we always want more stock. And also, we'll talk about, I think you made a good point, Dave, about how to articulate current data and what that means and how you can really stand out from the crowd when you go to see people and talk them through things like, I mentioned it before, utilizing the likes of Data Loft and presenting that to the client. The valuation, we're going to be presenting this to our mastermind members in the next week or two, but the valuation in terms of actually the meeting, like what you present in terms of data is game changing. And when you're in the door after seeing someone that's been on the market with someone elsewhere, presenting what the data says and talking about the subjective part. But just on the market letter, you wrote an amazing on the market letter for you, us, and the members last quarter, which was, and what I really loved about it and why I think it was so successful is because it informs. There is no fresh approach with a sliced lemon. There is no free, no obligation valuation offered. There was no we've got buyers, any of that other bullshit that's associated with everyone else sends out. It was 4 pages, maybe 5 pages from memory, of informative data that was educating the seller. What's happening in the market, what are things doing? How is this going to impact you? And we had good responses off it and had great meetings with people. For example, the house that, indirectly, this house that Richard's taken on in Park Farm, again, the marketing was poor there. And we identified the weakness. And that's the thing. One thing that I can hand on heart say, certainly for the three of us, is no one could come in and attack our marketing and say, your marketing's not good enough. We can do better than that. And it's those 3 pillars, isn't it, Dave? That your favorite 3 things that I literally say on a daily basis. They are the 3 things that people can control. I quite confidently put my house on that all 3 of us, in terms of, how we manage clients, cannot be beaten by anybody else. So nobody else can come in and nip in under us and go, well, I'm going to market your house better. I'm going to expose it better. I'm going to communicate better. Just not going to happen. But equally, that is where the majority of agents do fall down. Their marketing isn't complete. It isn't fully exposed. They haven't got a social media strategy. The house again, I keep using this house that Rich has put on because it's a fantastic example of, it's been on 14 weeks with another agent. The main photo online was a picture of a tree with a house in the background. The tree looks like it's about to die, right? They had like 1 viewing or 2 viewings in 14 weeks. We've booked 4 in a week. There was no video. There was no brochure. There was no twilight photography. Like, we could go in there, sit down with a client and immediately add value and say, right, we need a cinematic tour of this house because it is a lifestyle property. Look at where it's based. We talked them through kind of the storyboard. We'd sat down and then, in fairness to Rich, he'd said, we need to come through the gates and show where the house is, gated access, and show off the land. Go to the effort of staging. I'm not from Birmingham. Staging and styling the house in order to present its best. And there was holes all in the other agent's marketing. And this agent is long established in the upper end of the market, and they've just literally been blown away by a small independent, if that makes sense. We call ourselves a small independent. We punch big, but they're peddling international marketing and London buyers. Well, where have they been for the last 14 weeks? Nowhere.
Yeah. Well, that's an important thing, JK. So you'll get that. And I always say to clients, again, and I think it's quite refreshing for them to hear, especially when you say it with authority and confidence. But I always say to them, you should never, ever need to change your estate agent. We are all on, everybody should be on Rightmove. Some are on Zoopla as well. Everybody should be on there. If your marketing is incredible. Like you've got everything that we've said you should have, and I don't need to keep going through it. But if you've got all of that and you're on Rightmove and your agent has got a social media presence and they can demonstrate that they are doing things in that regard, if it's a very high value home and other types of people look at these types of homes, what are they doing outside of that to try and generate a bit of interest? Like, for example, I've got a house coming on the market soon in a very exclusive development, and there's 2 Burnley footballers live there. So what inroads are people making to football clubs? And where we are, Ian, we've got Media City not too far away. So you get a lot of people moving over our way these days to be closer to their place of work, actors, things like that. There's a particular area that I'm in where that's who you're brushing shoulders with if you are living there. So what inroads are you making there? All that sort of stuff. If you can demonstrate that you're doing all that, then 99 times out of 100, the main issue will be the number. And as long as you are educating that client, I always say to my client, the subjective part of the valuation is what someone's prepared to pay, obviously. But beyond that, obviously, I can't control it. All I can do is give you the information so that you can make informed decisions. And when we catch up, you might not like what I've got to say, but I'm not going to tell you something that you want to hear just because you want to hear it. I'm going to tell you what the market's doing so that you can make informed decisions. And that's the important thing. So more often than not, when you go to houses that are already on the market, I always say, look, let's forget your price. Let's pretend you've never been on the market. Let's first of all look at your marketing, and you'll always find holes in it. You'll always find holes in the market where you can improve. But then, again, 9 times out of 10, there is probably a pricing point issue, like a pricing strategy issue. So you can have that conversation. And, I've been to a couple in the last week who are on the market with their agents. I share the statistical data with them. Like there was one in particular where at the time they went on the market had already dropped 3%. When they called me out, it had dropped another 3%. So I was able to demonstrate that. So, and when you're saying to them, did they tell you that when you went on in September, the market had dropped 3% based on what they valued it on? No, they didn't tell me that. Right. Well, what I'm telling you right now is it's dropped another 3%. So since you went on the market, or rather, since they valued it on that price, the market's dropped 6%. Have they given you that news? No. You need to hear it.
Yeah, they need to hear it. And using data to prove that is excellent. We've, as you know, started using data on your recommendation. And the data surprises you sometimes. Like I went to one yesterday where the peak in the market, £1 per square foot, is actually now. So so last year it went up. When you look at other areas, it's gone down. You can't assume. You need to look at the data and show them that data, and they really, really appreciate that. These type of clients. I think when you talk about the marketing and not having any holes in your marketing, you will lose. Like we hardly lose any properties to other agents, something like 5 in 5 years, and it's mainly because of the communication and the quality of the marketing. If your marketing is as amazing as it can be with a video on every listing, and your communication to your client is weekly minimum, you're probably never going to lose anyone. So that's good for you, but then it also makes it easier to nick listings off other agents, doesn't it? Because you know the marketing's not as good and you know the communication's not there.
Yeah, I actually said to this client yesterday when I was sort of suggesting, Ian, that you shouldn't have to move agents ever, and explaining that it'll only ever be a number issue because the marketing will be so good, the exposure will be so good, etc., etc. And that might be a conversation we need to have, but I will only ever deliver you what's happening in the market so you can make informed decisions. It's also quite nice then to be able to say, you will get letters from other estate agents.
Yeah.
You might even get somebody knocking on your door saying that they can sell it for you and they've got buyers on their database. What I would say is you've got 2 options there. A, tell them to bring the buyer around, and if the buyer goes on to buy it, I'll step aside. Or B, tell them if they've got a buyer to approach me and I will split the fee with them. No problem. They've not done any marketing. I'll split the fee with them, no problem at all. And it just gives that owner a level of confidence to say, well, this guy, he's putting everything out there. He's just being truthful. He's telling me what I need to hear, and I'm best suited with them.
There's no power, is there, with the other agent then? Though?
Yeah, exactly. And when you educate them to say, they'll tell you they've got 10 buyers on the list. Well, don't sign the contract to market your home. They want web exclusivity. Tell them to bring the 10 buyers round and save some money on the marketing. They might as well bring the buyers round if they've got them. And like you said, JK, many times, how quickly do they disappear?
Mm.
So yeah, it's going back to the on-market letter, I guess. Yeah, it's the same. It's a similar sort of message to not on the market letters, but not as perhaps thorough. But what it also does is just give them an update on the previous month. So this is what happened in the property world, and offer context. I think somebody asked a question in the group this week, and we said there's no point just giving the stat. Make sure you put context behind the stat and explain what that means to them. So yeah, I think as long as you're doing that and making the owner, the person that's on the market, understand how that this statistical data will affect them, then you've got a good chance of converting that.
So people listening to this, then, before we get on to discussing elections, etc., I think that we can add some real value here. If you are listening to this, so if I kind of put the spotlight on you, Dave, what's 3 things then? If I'm Joe Bloggs, so let's keep it simple. One thing, and we'll maybe alternate. Then you can ask me. If I'm listening to this and I want to go after another on the market property. Give me one thing I could do. I mean, send a letter. Yeah, I get that. What's one thing I can do in terms of if I'm identified a house I really would like to sell on Rightmove, and it's on with another agent? What's one thing that you could do?
So I am a big fan of postcards, actually. So outside of a letter form, if you're sending blanket on, I think firstly, JK, just before that, be consistent with your market stuff. Don't just be sporadic. There's some good software out there, Spectre, Home Search, things like that, where you can do the milestone dates and get stuff sent out. But I think a lot of that is samey. So I think
everyone else is doing it, aren't they?
That's So monthly content that is very much your own, bit more long form, statistical data of the latest. So I like to tailor it around the latest Rightmove house price index, because they see the trends before anyone. It's valuable data and it's good to know. So, for example, dead quick, Rightmove last month reported that sales are actually up 13% year on year. Buyer activity is up 8% year on year. So that's fantastic news, Mr. Vendor. It means that there's not a lack of demand there. There's lots of demand there. Sales are being agreed. The issue is that it's now taking 34% longer nationally to agree a sale. And Zoopla are reporting that 41% of sales are being agreed 5% below their list price. So clearly what that's telling us is there's not a demand issue, it's a price sensitivity issue.
Yeah.
So you really need to check whether your pricing is correct, whether your pricing strategy is correct. And obviously we've just gone through all the holes in your marketing and all that sort of stuff. But if you deliver that news and then offer context, there's no point just saying sales are up 13%, buyer activity is up 8%. Have a great month. You've got to offer context. And if you are on the market and you are not selling, has your agent spoken to you about this? What are prices doing in your area? Did you know that they'd actually dropped? Did you know that buyer activity is up, but it's taking longer to sell? But if we're talking about maybe a quicker win and something like you've said, if you've seen a really nice house that you like and want and you're going to try and nurture it when you don't know the client, outside of things like door knocking, I do like a postcard. And these have been quite successful for me in the past. So we have some nice postcards where they have a picture of a local landmark. So it's not a salesy one at all. It doesn't have our logo all over it. It's just a local landmark in the area. On the writing bit, I would just say, Mr. Client, I have made you a brief video about your home. Please give me a call back to discuss this. You can access it by clicking this link. Not clicking this link, sorry, by typing this link into your URL. So it's handwritten postcard. I've done a Loom video. And if you're not familiar with Loom, Loom is a screen sharing software. So what I will do is I will look at their advert and I will basically advise on how they could improve their chances to sell. So if the lead shot is poor or something like that, I would never slag off the agent, by the way, and I would never say that anything is terrible. I'd be really passionate about, wow, that picture's awful or anything like that. It would be very constructive. Like, did you know that if you had a twilight shot here, It's you've got to think about the first shot that someone sees, especially if they're scrolling on a mobile through Rightmove.
Yeah.
You only get one house shot really, so you want that to be a main one. And it might be that as nice as your house is, if it's an executive detached home, say for example, there's another 20 executive detached homes in the area on that particular development, but your kitchen's stunning. You might want to change your lead photograph to your kitchen. That might just improve your click-through rate. Or it might be, we do these twilight shots. You might want to consider getting a twilight shot on your home. Speak to your agent about it, because if you get a natural twilight shot when the sun's going down, it really broadens the overall appeal of your home. Some lifestyle photography, Mr. Vendor. You might want to consider some lifestyle photography, because guess what? You're no longer selling your home, you're selling your buyer's next home. You really should think about presenting it that way. So basically giving constructive feedback about the advert and how they can improve their chances to sell by tweaking things in their advert. While I'm on there, I might just quickly nip on Dataloft or something and just say, and just so you know, in your area, I cover it. We've got loads of houses for sale, so I know it really well. Prices, unfortunately, have been coming back a little bit now. So since you went on the market in, say, January, prices have dropped back 4%. It's not the end of the world. What we can see from this Rightmove price index here is that sales are up 13%, buyer demand's up, but it is taking longer to sell homes. So that might be one of the reasons that you're not selling at the moment. There's a couple of things that you can do with your marketing, but just be aware of the stats. Don't fall foul of staying on the market too long without looking at your price, things like that. Hope that helps you. If you want to reach out to me and have a conversation, this is my number. Take care. Send the postcard. And they have been very good for me. Very good for me.
I mean, that's pretty comprehensive, to be fair. On my side, I'm always looking at, like you said, I'm always looking for weaknesses in the marketing. Postcards are good. I mean, we've used letters, so particularly our on the market letter, specifically the one you wrote last time. I've also sent letters to properties that are on the market that I think potentially might buy one of mine. So
nice.
We had a house in Bromham a little while back, which is a North Beds village near me. It's about 1.15. And what I did is I sent it to homes that I wanted to target at kind of 1.8 to 2 plus. And I said, have you thought about downsizing into the village? Like just a bit of a personal note, one single sheet of A paper, basically just on headed paper, just saying, have you thought about moving into the village? Haven't got you. If it's not for you, please do reach out, because I'd love to help you find. I can see you're on the market at the moment. Then input a brochure in there and send it either first class or recorded delivery, and send it over to them. And then I had a response from a lady. Unfortunately, she did sell in the end, or unfortunately for me anyway. But she just said, I just really liked, I really liked your approach. It was so different, and it was really kind that you offered to help. And I really loved your brochure. We have just accepted an offer and we have found a house to buy. But seeing as you made the effort to go to the effort of doing this for me, I just wanted to give you a quick call and just say, thank you, really appreciate it. And if anything changes. But the other thing as well is you're also sowing seeds, because the experience that she'd had with her agent at the time, again, different agent to the one we're talking about with Rich, but another long-standing agent in the area that deals with upper end. The experience she'd had been really poor. The communication was awful. The marketing was average for a house over £2 million. I mean, it's over £2.5 million. The marketing was absolutely dreadful. And I just know that now that you've kind of laid those foundations with that person, people in those sort of circles mix with other people, and you just don't know who they're going to come into contact with when they go, oh, I want to sell my place. Oh, well, avoid so-and-so. This is the guy you want to speak to because he did X, Y, and Z, and look at the quality of this. So,
yeah, I think it's, going back to that lady who's contacted you just to say, thanks for sending it. I've just sold, but blah, blah, blah. I thought your content was really good. She's probably going to recommend you, JK.
That's what I mean. Exactly what you said. Yeah.
Over her. And I think that's testament to what you do and say and be an authority. I think that she'll probably, given everything that you've said, she'll probably see you as the authority. And I don't know what experience she had with that other agent, but I think that's something quite strong that is often overlooked with letters and things like that. When you don't get the immediate response, it's not the fact that you, I don't know, it's not the fact that if you don't get a response straight away, some people just give up, and then the goal
What's
is
funny
1
is
month away.
what one of those particular agents who I've literally I've won twice up against two really big instructions, and they've said to my client, well, I don't know why I'm selling with them because they haven't got a London office. And it's like, and this agent in particular, I mean, they have a presence in London. They have an office in London, but this is the same person that has been marketing a house for 14 weeks and only managed to bring two people through the door. And neither of those, the biggest spoiler alert is the London office is easily accessed at rightmove.co.uk. That is their London office. No, zero social media strategy from them, by the way, other than let's post the video online. No social, doesn't get shared into groups, doesn't get like boosted or targeted. It's literally, it's just so behind the curve. And to be honest, long may it continue, because as long as there is weaknesses in their marketing, and these people are the people that tie people in as well. They tie people in for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And one of the other good things I would say for getting on the market properties is something that you have often raved about, Dave, that resonated with me and really pushed me to do more of it, is engaging in local groups. There's always those Facebook posts. Can someone recommend an estate agent? And quite often, as Ian and you both say, and I say it myself, they do tend to be the lower end, so they're not necessarily going to be your clients. However, there is nothing stopping you from engaging. Now, I engaged in a group the other week where someone had recommended an agent. They said, my agent's crap and I'm not getting any communication and I don't know what to do. And rather than going in there and going, hi, I can sell your house, would you like a free no obligation valuation? I actually went in there and delivered some value to the group and said, look, you should never have to change your estate agent. I pretty much quoted what we quote on our on the market letter. And I sent you the screenshot, didn't I? So
yeah, it was brilliant
what I said. But it went from again, I'm not going to be on Good Morning Britain, but it got about 30, 40 likes on the post. But what it did was pushed my comment to the top, because Facebook, a lot of the time in groups, there's a lot of comments on the post. It prioritizes the top comments. And I got a call the other day from a lady, talk about marketing mix. She called in because she'd had one of our not on the market letters, and she'd seen us on Facebook. Like she's part of that group in particular. And she said to me, I read your post, and everyone else, all the other agents on there are tagging their own website and thanking people for recommending them, tagging their own website. We can help you, free, no obligation valuation. And she just said, you stood apart from the rest because you gave that anonymous participant advice in terms of what to do, how to do it. And you just don't know who's looking and who's reading. It's always value in advance. Always. There was a post in the Complete Agent Facebook group the other day about quarterly update and stats, your stats on how good you are and this, that, and the other. Save those for when you're in the living room and, Gatesy does, and it's almost the hour mark, so we've got to get his name in to receive our full sponsorship. Gatesy does stats for us every month, and that's when you quote your stats in the living room and say, look, our exchange percentage is X, Y, Z. The average area average is X, Y, Z. That's when you talk about it. But always in public, you always want to give value in advance, and you want to be the attraction agent where people approach you.
100%, mate. Absolutely. Just some great points there. And again, we've talked about the social side. I had a situation ages ago where I lost a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon responding to people, trying to educate them about the market, because they'd seen a post which was actually extremely positive for us. We'd sold a house that somebody else had failed to sell, and we'd sold it at an incredible price for what it was and where it was. But of course, once it got shared by a member of the public saying, oh my God, how much for this? You had every Karen jumping on it. And at first your heart sinks and you're like, oh, because your brand's associated with it. And I thought, hang on, I've just sold this house for a record price on the street. And there's about 300 people that have commented on it. So you just think that's great exposure for me. And when you actually do put your comment in the social media section and say this is the reason that it sold for what it was and this is the context behind it, that your clients that you want will read that, like it, and put supportive comments on it. The others, you don't want them.
No.
They're not your clients. So it's really important, and I think it's a fantastic point that you've just made. Educate the client. Don't just tell them how great you are, because that's what people fall into the trap of. And they're all the same. We do premium listings, featured boxes, and all that sort of stuff, and it's just nonsense.
Yeah. So I think we've covered quite a lot on that for people. I think there's been quite a lot of value there. Just before we sign off, I think it's really poignant, and we did mention it earlier, that we should talk about the general election that's been called. I just talk, there was a post in the Complete Agent Facebook group about I think it was actually Alison Hubble that put in a group. What do we expect the general election to have on the market? How is it going to affect the market? I responded, and basically I'll say it here: if you're not in the group, apply to join online. We are accepting estate agents only. We don't accept suppliers in the group. So if you're an agent listening to this, search us out on Facebook, The Complete Agent, and join the private Facebook group. But yeah, I basically wrote a piece on this for our members last night because I thought, one thing that COVID taught me was being quick to respond to news that's out there and get information out there quickly can really do well for your business and do wonders for your business in terms of actually getting speed of information out, because it's all part of being that authority in the market.
Yeah.
And basically the piece that I wrote is I looked at like the historical data. In 2010, the transactions increased post-election significantly. And in looking at, the thing is, there's two different parts, and I'll explain here in a second. And in 2015, prices rose consecutively post-election. The reason prices actually did rise from 2010, but we were still in a relative time of volatility because we just had the GFC in 2008, and prices and interest rates and the whole financial market was all over the place. So I didn't think it was an accurate and fair reflection on how an election actually affects the property market, whereas there was a lot more stability. I would compare where we are in the market now much more similarly to where we were in 2015, in terms of prices fairly stable. Prices had increased, which is why I thought 2015 to talk about prices was probably a really good time, just simply because a stable market and prices, again, I think it was 4% off the top of my head, was the data. The signs are there in the market as well, and these are things that you can talk to homeowners in the sitting room about, or in the dining room. Inflation's hit its lowest point for 3 years. House prices have stabilised and are up 1.8% year on year, and actually up 0.7% from the previous month. GDP is estimated to have grown 0.4% in March, following growth of 0.2% in Feb. Mortgage approvals are up over 20% annually. So there's lots, and the point is there's lots in the market to be talking about, why there's reasons to be optimistic. There will be people that sit on their hands, but there's people that have been sitting on their hands since Brexit. Since Brexit was announced, house prices are going to drop 30%, 40%. I'm going to go into rented for a couple of years and ride it out. They're the same people in 2016 that were probably still riding it out in COVID, waiting to see what happened in COVID, and missed out on a period of 30% growth. So, there are those that do and those that sit on their hands, and there will be an element of wait and see. But I suppose the positive that you can take is it is a bit of a snap election where there's only really probably going to be about 6 weeks of are they, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the key there, JK, is not only were you quick to react with that, I think you're giving your opinion.
Yeah.
Again, I think data is key. So obviously report the data. This is what happened pre-election last time. This is what will happen post-election last time. Could we see the same trends? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But the context I think that you were offering is that if you are thinking to buy, if prices do maybe start going up after the election, if there's a lot of positivity surrounding it, or after it rather, then you don't want to be waiting around because that will basically impact what you're going to be paid. So whatever you do, don't do anything. Don't do nothing. It's just when you're an estate agent, you've got to give context on the market and not necessarily just the property market. It's stuff that affects it. And your clients will appreciate that, particularly if you are at the mid to higher end of the market, because as Ian alluded to earlier on, by the way, Ian's left again. If people don't know, he's not just being quiet.
Oh, yeah.
He said he's got another barn to get to. Yeah, he's got another barn to get to, so he just left. He just didn't even say he was going. See you later, mate. Yeah, I think you've got to have an opinion, get it out there, because the people that are the mid to higher in the market, like Ian was saying, often they've got a Telegraph or a Guardian or whatever it is on the side. They've got an opinion on politics and what's going to happen and how it might affect things. And even if it's not something that massively interests you, because to be quite frank, I'm not a massive fan of politics, bores me, but it's relevant to what we are doing and how things like that. I mean, this is a major event that's going to have an impact on the property market. My view is what you alluded to there, JK. I think it probably will be a little bit quieter now leading up to the election. That's what I think. And then I think that following the election, depends on what happens, that we'll see some nice activity towards the end of the year, particularly because it's likely interest rates are going to start to come down mid to the end of the year. So, again, when I did go on the TV yesterday, did I mention that?
No. Did you go on the TV?
I was on the TV yesterday. So, by the way, I posted that on my personal page to say, really nice to be asked on Good Morning Britain this morning. The amount of abuse you receive from your mates, honestly.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's fantastic. It's fantastic. This is how I've built up thick skin, looking the way I do over the years. But I was asked basically to, what do I think will happen based on the fact that lower inflation has been reported, and how will it affect buyers and how will it affect tenants? And my view is that for buyers, it could be a good thing, because if interest rates start to come down, naturally, it will cost them less to borrow.
Buying power, wouldn't it?
Yeah, more buying power. However, the knock-on effect to that will be, as we've seen through history, is that if the costs of borrowing go down, the prices of the houses are likely to go up because there'll be more demand for them. The only thing that might even that out at the moment is that stock levels are at a 6-year high. So there's a lot of competition on the market. For tenants, my view was it's not going to change anything, because even if landlords' mortgage repayments come down because the base rate of interest has come down, the chances of them passing that on to the tenant are extremely slim. You'll have your odd golden landlord, of course, but
why would you though? I mean, in the nicest way, supply and demand. Probably not a nice thing for tenants to hear, but I can't imagine there'll be many listeners to this podcast. But in reality, you wouldn't say you wouldn't just drop your house price immediately. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, we've got property management, and the landlords are seen as the villains.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we've got loads of landlords that are absolutely fantastic. I've got one. I struggle to get a rent increase out of him. You make a recommendation saying this is what the new market value is and what we recommend we should put the house price up to. And he's like, do you know what? Just stick it up. Don't stick it up too much.
There's a lot of accidental landlords though as well. There's a lot of people that fall into like being a landlord through circumstance. There's this perception that landlords are living in country manners and, doctor, professor, entrepreneur, when I think the stark reality is probably, and again, I don't do lettings, but I'd imagine 30% of, landlords minimum are probably accidental or situational landlords.
They are, mate. 100% they are. And a lot of them are very inexperienced, but ultimately, I've been through it. I'm a landlord myself personally, and I've been through it where the interest rate started to go up on my trackers, and you can't afford to then keep the rent the same. It's just impossible. Otherwise, you need to sell it. So what would you rather me do? Sell the house so you have to go and find somewhere else, or just put the rent up in line with what it's costing me, so that I'm not affected, that we can carry on doing this. But I do feel for tenants that it's tough out there because the rents are so high. We have to literally take them offline, usually after 24, 48 hours sometimes, because the demand for a property when it's been listed is so high we just couldn't fulfil the viewings, and you're almost on a first come first served basis in terms of getting people through the door to see it. So yeah, I think the point is, JK, is that it might sound a little contradictory because of the way we talk about statistical data. Like I'm always saying, for valuations, it's not your opinion, it's the market's opinion. But when I think worldly events like this are happening, don't get too political. Don't go all Gary Lineker on people, like he does on Twitter if you follow him. But certainly offer context to what's happening. And there is, like you've delivered on that post, there's loads of statistical data that you can find quite easily on the land registry site. If you just put half an hour aside, look at transaction volumes before the elections, the last 5 elections, look at transaction volumes, and then what happened just before the election, and then what happened just after the election. Look at house prices just before the election and just after the election, and report that. It's I suppose, again, quite contradictory. It's not your opinion, it's fact. This is what happened. So then offer context. So if this happens again, then you might be better off buying your house right now. Don't hold off. But blah, 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 blah. Basically, offer an opinion. But get the facts. It's not hard to do. You got that together, I think, last night when we were chatting in about half an hour. But a really articulately worded Facebook post together. And it's brilliant. And that's what people need to hear this morning.
Perfect. Well, look, mate, you're an absolute ledge. I appreciate that. Ian, it's been a pleasure, mate. Good to have you again this week. And we will see you next week.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was an incredible podcast, lads. See you next week.
Right, cheers for listening, guys. And again, if you want any more information on the Complete Agent, please reach out to myself, JK, or Ian. We'd be delighted to chat to you about it.
And we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.